Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a great time at the conference. My name is Margie Nelson, and I'm speaking to you about classroom management and some solutions that might be helpful to you. I've been teaching at the new school for 32 years, and I think that's kind of a lot of group classes that go along with that time. So, anyway, I hope some of these ideas are helpful to you. I think the most important thing when you first start your group class is to establish clear rules and expectations. Set those rules early and do this on the first day and revisit them regularly because the students tend to forget rules and so do I. So the younger students, it's important for them to keep their hands to their sides when they come to the piano and to play when told. This can get very chaotic if you don't set that rule right in the beginning because kids just want to play that piano. Older students, I think it's important for them to keep their cell phones in their bag and not pull them out or use them in class. So students at school, they have rules, and such as, raise your hand before speaking, and ask your class to come up with some rules to help you, make it more fun and interactive with them. And let them know that rules keep people safe and happy, especially me. When you are creating your lesson plan, make sure that it is engaging, meaning that variety is essential as well as a quick pace. Younger students, they've got the wiggles, so you want to keep them moving, doing interval games, rhythm games. Older students, they need theory, tips on how to practice, and technique and improvisation. So as I'm teaching a class, I usually when I'm planning it out, like 10 minutes for the first activity, 8 minutes for the second activity, and then I watch my watch as I'm going through my lesson plan just to keep it moving. And we know that variety is the spice of life. Students need a class plan that covers what is important to you as a teacher. If your students are engaged, then there'll be less likelihood of any misbehavior or somebody falling asleep or something. It is okay to repeat a class occasionally as well. I'll repeat something if I know if they enjoyed it, they liked the game. Maybe it didn't work as well as I wanted it to, so I can revisit that. I like to always include theory. I think theory is huge. Include a rhythm activity, different performances, and a game in every class. So, you might want to try some of the new games that have been presented to you today. A recent one that I saw that I'm using, a new one was since it's summer, I'm using a beach ball. And on the beach ball, on the different sections, I'm going to put clap this rhythm or sing do. Maybe work on ear training, have them sing the note C. So each one of the sections, when you pass the ball, whoever lands on it with their right hand thumb catches it. That's the thing that they need to do. Clap that rhythm. Play a C major five finger pattern. I don't know, but that was something I'm going to start trying in my next class. Encourage student performances and student feedback. Students gain self-confidence with a successful performance. That is so true. You really want to have those students come to the group class so that they get an opportunity to play. It builds self-confidence in school, it builds self-confidence in their future. I just can't speak enough of that. Students need a safe environment to perform their pieces. As teachers, we need to be supportive, and that makes it safe. Safe is when they go out and, they're nervous about playing it or they have a composition and they may think it's not very good, but you have created that nurturing environment. Positive feedback comes first. Students can learn to give constructive feedback to their peers. So students love to give feedback, but just make sure they do that sandwich idea of something positive, something they can improve on, and something positive again. Creating a safe environment allows a student to feel comfortable in performing in the class. And you can choose performances as part of your class plan. A safe environment means that you will always say something positive to the student first, and then something that they can improve upon. A suggestion would be to make a concrete change right on the spot. So, for example, I think it's important once a student plays and you're suggesting an improvement for them to make that improvement right then. So, an easy one would be, can you play this section louder? And right then they start to play louder. And, you ask the student, did everybody hear that forte? And the class is, yeah. And the student is, yeah. And everybody's, yeah. So you've just created a really great, fun environment. And they're thinking to themselves, wow, I can do this. Students can give positive feedback as well, and they like to share how to practice something. For example, if a student is having a hard time with a section and they're really slowing down, call on a student, hey, has anybody played this piece? How would you work through this so that they can get the tempo to be at the same tempo as the rest of the piece? And it really empowers your students. Ooh, what to do when the unexpected happens. I think this is as a group class teacher, this is my big fear. Like, am I really going to be able to handle what happens? And as I said, I've been teaching group class for over 30 years, and I think I might have seen it all. So take a deep breath and remain neutral. So this is a true experience that happened to me. I had a student in my group class that every time they would sit down at the piano, I was never sure if he was going to play his piece or if he was going to just start banging on the keys. So I got wise to this, and what I started doing was I would before I call him up, I would close the piano lid, and when I had him sit down, I would remind him of the rules. So you're going to play the piece first. We're going, make sure that you follow the rules and everybody stays safe and happy. And so once I would open it up, if he decided that he was going to bang on the piano, then I had to say, I'm sorry, you're not following the rules. I'm going to go ahead and close the piano lid and you can go back to your seat. And then towards the end of the class, I would ask him to come back up and play his piece. Sometimes he'd do it, sometimes he wouldn't, but we just kept going. So, when teaching a group class, remember that the group as a whole is what's important, not the individual student that's acting up. Therefore, it is okay to ask the disgruntled student to step into the waiting room to relax, go get a drink of water, go to the bathroom, just so that they can calm themselves down and get themselves together. And you can too, and so can the class. Like the pressure of the class kind of goes back to a nice calm feeling. I also use a seating chart or do assigned seats. Students like routine, so they will sit in the same seat. And so I got wise to this and I started using a seating chart to separate the chatty patty or to put a shy student next to an outgoing student. And I find this really helps in the classroom dynamics. Um, I was a bit sneaky with this, and the way I realized that I could really control this is I always have an assignment sheet for my students, and at the top I write their name. So I write the name on the sheet, and I will place it where I want them to sit. Then I open the door, the kids come in, they look for their name and they sit down. And that way I have everybody in the place in the classroom of where I want them. Um, and so once again, I am in control and that feels good. Students with special needs. Get an action plan from the parent. So most students have some sort of an action plan that has been created at school or their parents have created, and then frequently refresh your memory as to how to best work with that student. I've worked with many students with special needs. Everyone is different. So most students have an action plan at school. Ask the parent for a copy of it or for some tips on how to best work with them. Educate yourself with their diagnosis. There's so many great books out there. Pair them up with a student in class who's mature and sensitive to people that might be different. I always think that pairing is very helpful. It's helpful for the student. Just some students are so kind, and they just really know how to work with someone that might be a little different. Students at different levels and different ages, this is, I think, very tricky. So it's important to find a common ground to work with this type of class, such as improvising or composing. And so you can take something very simple as just a five-finger pattern, maybe a whole tone scale, or just on the black keys, and demonstrate it with your students, and you play in an accompaniment. And you can keep it cycling around where, a student comes up and plays, then another one comes up and plays, and they really enjoy this. It's improvising is such a fun, creative way, and it's really can be so low pressure if you create it that way. Another thing you could do is have everybody focus on mood, the mood of the piece. What is your piece supposed to express? And that way, everybody can have a say so or just focus on dynamics. And that can really help to make your class cohesive. And lastly, do not take any situation personally. Sometimes this is harder than teaching a class. You know, um, when something doesn't go well or I get a reaction from a student or something, it's really hard to move on from that. But it's important to just shake it off. Don't let it get to you. And remember that the only thing we can do is after something happens, in your class that may not have gone the way you wanted it to, just take a look at yourself, make the change needed that could potentially make it even better. And the more you communicate with your parent, the more the parents from your class, the better things can be. I think I forgot to say this one thing. If a student acts up in your classroom, always, always, always follow up with a parent afterward and speak with them and ask them, this is how I handled the situation. And if this happens again, should I deal with it differently? So always be humble, ask for suggestions, and then, the sun will come up tomorrow. It will be, everything will work out just fine. So hopefully these are some great tips for you. And the next thing we have are any questions, and Molly will take those from you. Thank you.